Hi, Dominic.
Hi.
Great having you here. You come with a lot of energy, so this is great.
Great
But
being
still,
here again.
even though a lot of energy involved, shall we sit down on the sofa? Let's take a seat here. Thank you for joining. I mean, Dominic, you've been on this stage many years as one of the key speakers when it comes to energy management, and this comes not by surprise. You're responsible in business development for that topic, so you definitely know that place. Have you been around at the fair?
Yeah, of course.
Of
I take
course.
the time to see all those innovations. It's great to be here again. Of course, first of all, a warm welcome to all of you from my side as well. But yes, I checked it out already.
Always good to have you here. So, Dominic, what exactly does the EU Directive on Energy Efficiency say? And as a company, what do I have to consider in order to be ready for that?
Well, basically, I would say the European Union Directive on Energy Efficiency is, let's say, like a pan-European mandatory compliance scheme, which is targeting a lot to count into this ambitious big plan of the European Green Deal. Means making Europe the first climate neutral continent by 2050. And this comes along with milestones and with measures that needs to be taken. An important milestone is the reduction of net greenhouse gas emissions by 2030. So to reach these targets, of course, measures need to be taken. And the directive is basically giving us the framework. I think very important to know about this is the quite strict deadline. So
Yes.
the European Union gave a deadline by October 2025 this year for all member states.
6 months. We're talking about in 6 months.
Quite soon, for all member states to transfer the content of the directive into specific national law.
Okay, so let's take Germany as an example. How are companies affected by the directive?
Well, in Germany, we have the situation that this transfer already happened. So we have the Energy Efficiency Act, which is the German law coming from this directive. And it really goes across all sectors, across all branches, across all verticals and company sizes, from manufacturing to process, to data center, to retail chains, also to infrastructure, of course, like hospitals, for example. And I mean, it makes totally sense because the essence, the core of the directive is looking closely on energy consumption and being more efficient in the consumption. And recently I heard a radio report bringing in some relations stating, for example, a hospital bed is consuming the equivalent of energy consumption of 4 single-family homes in a year.
No way.
And true story. To put this also in the production content, only 4 tons of raw steel, which is not that much to produce, also consumes like 4 single-family homes. So we see it is really across sectors, across branches.
It's probably the relation is a hospital bed is with all the topics what you need to take care of a patient. It's not just that lifting and going back again. But I'll consider this should I ever have a skiing accident and need to go to the hospital. So let us take a closer look on the companies now. There are large and small companies, more and less energy consuming ones. What's the law differentiating in here? Shouldn't there be a kind of a separation?
Yeah, it's an important point because the big change basically is that the directive and also the national laws are now looking purely on the final energy consumption. That means they are not looking on revenue, on numbers of employees, so typical factors defining companies. It is purely on average final energy consumption. And well, the most important information, I guess, to take with you is there are 2 main limits, 2 lines to not be crossed. So all the companies below 2.5 gigawatt hours consumption per year average, they are not affected by this law.
Okay.
The ones above 2.5 going up to 7.5, they are obliged to plan saving measures, to publish them, and also to perform energy audits according to EN 6247. And now maybe the strictest one, above 7.5 gigawatt hours. those companies and those institutions and those entities need to introduce, to implement a energy management system according to, for example, ISO 50001.
Okay, but when we think of lots of the industries in Germany, brownfield, chemical, glass, steel industry, and 7.5 gigawatt hours is the limit. How many companies are we talking about? How many are affected?
On this top line level, so 7.5 is actually not too much. So you reach this quite easily.
Okay.
Affected in Germany are approximately 13,000 companies on the top line, only in Germany.
How do they then meet these requirements and meet the measures?
Well, how do they meet the measures? I mean,
Or by when? Let's start first. By when do they have to do this? Or when let's keep it like this. We know it's in 6 months. We all have to fulfill this. But when these companies have to implement the energy management system to meet the measures,
they need to implement this, so it's a complete system. It's of course a process, but the first and harsh and soon deadline is July this year. So July 2025, the first companies in Germany need to prove that they have implemented an energy management system. Simply because the law looks at the final energy consumption, backwards calculation 3 years, and then gives 20 months time to implement that. So we see in July, the first companies need to prove that they're doing something.
And if they don't make it by then?
I mean, it is a law now. It is not something recommended. It's not an advice. It's also not about benefiting tax reduction or something. It is mandatory. So there will be for sure penalties. And those penalties will be for sure really costly because it is a big target for the European Union and for the German legislation as well.
So obviously obviously these measures are required. And it's a must, not an obligation. But companies are risking harsh penalties and the deadline is short. So how can companies manage that?
A big topic. I mean, it is a complete system. They need to introduce a lot of measures, for sure. But the core element is the energy data management system. And that is where we can look at our portfolio and how we can really help. So Siemens is, of course, consulting, guiding the way through that. From a portfolio perspective, I think it is quite easy structured. We have an offering targeting the comprehensive solutions, so more like a control room situation with SENTRON Power Manager. But for the lots we mentioned that now need to do something, I brought a different solution with me, which we see also in front, the SENTRON Powercenter 3000, which is really created to be as simple as possible, as engineering-free as possible, a plug-and-operate solution, but still certified as an energy data management system by the German TÜV according to ISO 50001. So big check on the law here.
Sounds too good to be true. What's behind?
Yeah, but it still is. I mean, let's maybe look at some critical aspects when we talk about implementing energy data management system. It is of course how the system works, but it is also a lot about project duration. That means how long does it take to bring this whole thing up to life. Means secondly, IT infrastructure. So what do I need to take care about? What kind of performance? What kind of server capacities? Means security, so cybersecurity.
Yep.
And means also, of course, training times and know-how transfer, how to deal with the system.
Very important. We hear about that you need to train your workers which you have, and these are getting less and less. So how would you assess these aspects when it comes to the SENTRON Powercenter 3000, those 4 topics which you just mentioned?
Well, I mean, we see it is really out of the box. So that counts directly into the topic project duration, and that is maybe one of the most important things, because the engineering phase to bring such a system to life usually counts for 50 to 70% of the complete effort. And what we managed here is creating a solution which reduces these efforts by around 80%. So this is really a number. It comes basically through some functionalities we implemented, like a network scanning, so just to improve all these topics of bringing the system into operation. Secondly, I mentioned IT infrastructure. I think IT infrastructure is in the center divided into two big topics. The one is, what do I actually need to run a system? That means, do I need to take care about the software? Do I need to install it, maintain it? Do I need to look at certain capacity limits, performance issues, and so on? Check on that because it comes boxed as a pre-installed software on a product, so on an IPC. So that is done for you now. Second big field here is integration possibilities. So usually I have an IT infrastructure running as a customer, as a company. Maybe I have something cloud-based running for the sustainability reporting. Easy to integrate here.
Okay.
Thirdly, I mentioned security. I think cybersecurity is really, a topic that is increasingly interesting to look at because we have so many devices in the field that are able to communicate. And I mean, why not putting a secured bubble, putting a secure subnet in your panel instead of directly communicating all the single devices? And this is exactly what the Powercenter is doing for you. So securing your power distribution, basically. Yeah, and last but not least, I mentioned know-how and training. So also a big thing, you need to train your employees to work on a system. And the Powercenter is created to focus on the core elements, to make it as easy as somehow possible, to make the software look and feel like something we are used to work with in our more private lives, I would say. So on a dashboard, on any device, without any kind of training necessity to work with the data.
Okay, it does sound surprisingly easy, to be honest. But which compromises does this imply in terms of functionality?
Well, from my perspective, of course, none.
None? Okay.
Yeah, I would say for 90% of the use cases, it totally fits. Of course, you always have like very large projects, very complex environments. You have maybe special requirements from a user perspective to such systems. Then we maybe need to enhance a bit.
Okay, so what's your promise, Dominic, for our customers in case of more complex requirements?
Well, I would always say starting is the right way. Starting with the Powercenter, you can analyze, monitor up to 200 field devices. So that might be one limit in terms of complexity. Projects up to 200 devices, fine with that solution. And monitoring, extracting the data, working with it, also fine. If it comes to project above 200 devices, a couple of hundreds, or if you have like more specific requirements. I mean, for industries, often power quality analysis is a topic. So if we go deeply into PQ reports according to EN 5160, so really standard compliant power quality, then we enhance the system and scale it up to the big brother, SENTRON Power Manager.
The big brother, I like that one. So talking about the different company types which exist, which does the SENTRON Powercenter 3000 suit best?
Suit best, I would say suit best all, because it really is a solution for the small family-run craft business up to large entities where it is maybe placed on a production line or in a single entity. So across all sectors.
Now, we talked a lot about law and regulations, but what's the sweet spot, as a matter of fact, in regards of energy management?
I love this question, really, that you raised it, because the one hand side is, of course, we all need to be confirmed with the law. We need to work appropriately, but the core and the essence of energy management is something else. It is always about being more efficient with this resource energy. And this comes along with cost savings. So usually we see in average up to 40% possible cost savings only by implementing such systems and implementing the measures, of course. Secondly, it counts directly into availability. That means if I have this information ready out of my production, out of my location, basically, I can easily reduce downtimes. That means, of course, avoidance of unplanned downtimes, which are really, really costly, but also, and this is a bit more tangible maybe, simply better plan maintenance tasks to reduce the planned downtimes. So usually I have some shutdowns to do something, and I want to plan this not on a cyclic way, but really on information on data level. And last but not least, energy management is always a kind of commitment to sustainable operations.
Absolutely.
And this, I think, directly influences a company's value and a company's culture, basically. So I think this is it in a nutshell. Please take the chance, if you want to talk more in depth about this, visit me and my colleagues, the experts at the booth at station 110.
just across here. So if you want to take a look for yourself and learn more about it, that's definitely the chance. That much closer you couldn't get anymore, either to talking to Dominic, you will be browsing around here at the booth for a while, and otherwise to our experts at the stations. Big round of applause to you, Dominic. Always cool to see what's possible in regards of energy management.
Thank you
so
very
much.
Thank you.
Enjoy.
Bye.
It's yours.